Hello, hello. Welcome to the third episode of Admitted, the College Confidential podcast, your spot for talking all things college. My name is Gabby, your host for this episode. This week, in lieu of colleges releasing their decisions, I decided to interview one freshman who has been in your shoes not so long ago. Delaney Roe is also a College Confidential student ambassador, and she's a freshman attending Northeastern University. Let's hear what advice she's got for us. With me today, I have Delaney Roe. She's currently a freshman attending Northeastern University. Hi, Delaney. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Great. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Definitely tired. We're recording this on a Tuesday, so I know when I tell people I'm tired, they're like, "It's Tuesday," but I'm like, it's been a long week already.
Yes, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just jump right in. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Delaney. I'm originally from Arizona, but I actually grew up living overseas. I lived in both Shanghai, China, and Taipei, Taiwan, for about 3 years each when I was younger. So that kind of was a unique growing up experience, I would say. So I got to travel like all over the world pretty much at a young age, and that's kind of remained a big interest of mine. I love traveling. So that's kind of like my childhood. I have an older brother as well. He's graduating from Arizona State this semester. Um, and then so I just started college this year at Northeastern. I came in as a business major, kind of undecided on what I wanted to do within that. Um, my whole family is kind of a business background. Both my parents work in supply chain. But I wasn't exactly sure I wanted to follow in their footsteps, but I was interested in business. So I've kind of been taking this year to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with specifically in business. So that's been really fun so far. But other than that, I'm like what I like to do in my free time. I love like exploring like the city, hanging out with friends, going to concerts, listening to music, all that type of stuff for sure.
Cool, cool. So you mentioned that you came into college not really knowing, as an undecided major, as a business major. How would you say that's changed from your point now? Like, are you decided on a major? Have you declared a major? Like, where does that stand right now?
Yes. So about like a month ago, I declared a finance concentrated major, and then also an economics minor. So I kind of this semester I really kind of nailed what I was interested in, and that came through actually. I joined the Women in Finance Club here at Northeastern, and through that there was a lot of opportunities that kind of got me really involved, and I was able to learn a lot about finance. So that was kind of what like nailed it for me. And so now I'm kind of starting to take more like specific finance classes, and I'm like doing my course registration for next fall, and I'm excited to like get more into the actual major related classes.
Do you know what career path you kind of want to go into with this finance major?
I'm not entirely sure at the moment. As part of the Women in Finance Club, we actually went on a like a little trip to New York in February and got to visit a bunch of different finance firms and like meet with alum, which was super cool to see different types of jobs you can do in finance. I'm kind of right now leaning towards possibly going down like the consulting path within that, and I've been involved. We have a case consulting club here, so that's been a lot of help with kind of figuring out what consulting is and how you can do a lot of stuff with it in different industries. So like that's where I'm at right now, I feel.
It's very interesting that you mentioned consulting actually, because the last interview I had with Riley, he also mentioned how he was interested in going down the consulting path. And I think it's just really interesting that there are two College Confidential ambassadors that are really interested in that consulting field. And I think you guys pursue it in different ways. I know Riley pursues it through, social media content and creation, and you're pursuing it with, this club that you have with the consulting and with the Women in Finance Club there. So I think it goes to show how many different ways you could show like passions and how you can display it and further that passion in your own little journeys.
Yeah, for sure.
So this past month, college decisions have been rolling in. Emotions are running extremely high for high school seniors as they're getting their decisions and for their top schools, some positive, some negative. Um, and Northeastern is one of the most coveted top colleges on the confidential forums. I know people go absolutely insane whenever these decisions come out. And as you mentioned earlier, you're a freshman attending Northeastern now. So, what was your experience with applying, and how did you apply? When did you find out? How did that entire process look for you?
Yeah, so I Northeastern actually wasn't on my list at first. I knew I wanted to go out of state, and like that was something I was really focused on, like getting out there, like trying something new, like fully like being on my own was important to me. And I also figured out early on that like a city type of vibe was what I was looking for, but I also wanted that feel of a campus environment. And then along with that, because I knew that I wanted to do business, I was looking for strong business programs. But I kind of did a lot of research and like was taking input from anyone that had suggestions on any schools. So I kind of just kept adding to a list, and I was kind of just wanting to keep my options as open as possible, especially with how like selective the whole process was becoming. I didn't want to feel like I was stuck with a school. So I think it was over like fall break senior year. I went on a couple tours. Mainly, my mom and I went to New York and to Boston, and we kind of hit all the main schools. And I walked away from that trip just feeling like Northeastern like was what I was most excited about, and it kind of hit all the points on my list. I loved the campus. I would say that was something that like really stood out to me because a lot of city schools don't have a campus feel at all, and I felt like that might be a bit overwhelming. But so that like really stood out to me, and so that's like kind of what I was like, yep, I need to apply here. Like I really like this school. So I ended up applying early action, and then I applied to 22 schools total. Um, and then it was like our winter break. I kind of just had like a change of heart epiphany moment, and I was like, I want to do early decision two to Northeastern. Like I'm really set on this is the top school. So I changed my application decision to that like really last minute. I didn't really know what would happen, but then I found out I got accepted. That was like early February. So I'm really glad I did change to early decision because of how selective the decisions turned out to be. I think it really, really helped my chances. So I'm really glad looking back, and it just all worked out perfectly.
So you think that you don't think that you would have had as strong of a chance as a regular early action compared to early decision too?
Yeah, and a lot of the people I've talked to here, a lot of them are from either the early decision one or early decision two pool, just because Northeastern takes a majority of their applications from those two pools. So it really helped, I would say.
Okay, so Northeastern really, really loves demonstrated interest and
Yes.
wanting to make sure that you want to be there.
For sure.
So, what would you say the environment's like at Northeastern? I know you mentioned that when you visited with your mom, that you got the sort of campus vibe that you don't really see from a city school. What do you think makes Northeastern stand out as far as campus wise and student life and things like
Yeah, I think it's what I was really drawn to because, you still have that whole city. You're right in the middle of Boston. You have like the whole Fenway Park area right beside our campus, and you have like downtown shops and everything, and Newberry Street, like all within 10 minutes away. But then the campus is really concentrated onto one main road. And so you're only really ever crossing one road. And then all of like the buildings for classes are all right around each other, and all the dorms are kind of centralized in with like we have like different quads and like grass areas, which is like you wouldn't necessarily picture that in the middle of a city. So that is like itself really sets it apart of like you feel like you're not just walking down a street, you're like you're in a campus, you're surrounded by other students. So I would say that like it's just a really nice environment to be in. Just when you're like going to classes, going to get food, you're always surrounded by other students. And then with that too, it makes it a lot easier. There's always like tables set up, club events going on outside in the quads, like just like a really like uplifting environment of like always having stuff going on, things to get involved in. I would say it's a very like active campus. Like there's always going to be people out, even when it's freezing cold out, there's people out. just walking around and hanging out. So it's just like I feel like it's really nice to be in a like active and like everyone's always out and doing stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to see. I know like right now at Case Western, there are a bunch of tours going on, and I think just really showcasing your campus, just campus life and what makes your campus unique. Like honestly, I didn't see this when I went to tour, which surprisingly, I'm very surprised I didn't see it then. But right now there's like a very specific, I don't know if it's specific to Case Western, but I know this is the first time I've ever seen it, but like a Plants versus Zombies game, like campus wide. So you see like people with like these green and orange bandanas just running around with water guns, which honestly, if I were like touring now, I'd be like, wow, that shows a lot about campus life, I think. Just seeing how together the campus is and they could come together in this entire game. Like it's like it goes from freshmen to seniors and just seeing them interact that way and like just seeing the tiny little interactions is like I don't know the zombies capture the humans or I don't know how the game works but I just see it happen sometimes so I think seeing things like that across campus just really shows and in your case it really influenced your decision to go to Northeastern and I think seeing things on campus influenced my decision to go to Case Western. I think that's really a big deciding factor when people go to visit these
For
sorts of
sure.
college
I
campuses.
remember when I was visiting, like the first thing I would notice was, are there a lot of people out? What are people doing? Where are people like doing their work? Like just like what's going on around me? I think that was like what really like helped me like compartmentalize the different schools because it's hard when you're seeing like so many schools that have like such great programs and stuff. So like really focusing on like the actual like activity and people like around you was really, really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Because you're gonna be living here for 4 years.
Mhm.
It's not like you're in high school, just go there for the school part and then go home to your
Exactly.
own safe space. Like you're living here for 4 years. So you gotta like the people and the school too. It's a whole package deal.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that you moved from Arizona all the way to Massachusetts for college. How has this adjustment been, practically moving from coast to coast? How was that adjustment moving out of state, moving so far away from home? Just how is that being an out of state student for you?
Yeah, I mean, I because I knew I wanted to go out of state, I kind of had that like mental preparation of, a lot of my friends at high school are gonna probably stay in state for college and I'm gonna leave. I didn't know I would be going across the country, but um yeah, I think at like over the summer, especially just leading up to the weeks before moving in, I was obviously really nervous just about adjusting to everything and missing home and everything, but I think what really helped me was just keeping busy from the start, and I feel like had I had a ton of free time sitting around, I probably wouldn't have adjusted it as well, but because I kind of jumped right into stuff and was joining clubs, I went through rush the first 2 weeks of school, like talking to people in the dorm, just like really like putting myself out there, even if it was like out of my comfort zone, is really helped me. And just having like things lined up throughout the weeks, like being able to like come up with a schedule and a routine of stuff to do has really allowed me to kind of not get as homesick. And also I think I talk to my family all the time. Like I'll FaceTime my dog like almost every day. Just like little things like that definitely helps. And I think it just makes it even better when I do get to go visit home. I'm just more grateful to see people that I have missed and stuff. And also like I'm just grateful to be at such a great university and like such a cool city. Like it's such a awesome thing to be doing. So I think just reminding myself of that is also really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I can totally relate being an out of state student. I'm not exactly coast to coast, but it's like from bottom of the United States to top of the United States. So definitely going from the south to the north is such a big adjustment, especially cultural differences. Like there are references that are at home that aren't really references here in Ohio. You're like, "Oh, I've never heard of this before. I've never experienced this before." So I think I really agree with, just jumping right into things and having things lined up to keep yourself busy because I think I went up here with 9 other people from not my high school, but from my city just through a scholarship program. And I think just seeing individually how we adjusted to it, some of us took longer than others. And I think the biggest difference is that some of us really seized the opportunity and went out and talked to these people in our dorm, talked to these people in different clubs and joined clubs. And other of us, I think stayed talking to our family a lot and just really having all that free time, like you said. And I think the free time is what makes you miss home and miss just, everything the way things used to be a lot more. So I feel like keeping yourself busy and distracted is definitely a big factor in those first, couple of months at least.
Yes, for sure.
How would you recommend, somebody getting out of their comfort zone? I know for me personally, I'm the type of person that it takes a while to warm up to people. So how would you, recommend getting out there? You mentioned that you rushed, which we'll talk a little bit more about Greek life later, but how did you, get the courage to go out and rush and talk to these people and all sorts of these other things during those first 2 weeks, especially?
Yeah, I think from move-in day, what helped me a lot was kind of like going with my roommate and kind of just like going around our floor kind of and like it's also just reminding yourself that like everyone is a freshman and everyone's trying to adjust as well. So just kind of like grabbing a buddy and going around, it helps you a lot to kind of introduce yourself to people. And then you have people to, like go to the dining hall with, and then you'll meet people that they've already met, and it kind of just like goes like you kind of a domino effect of meeting new people. Um, and then as for like getting involved and stuff, I know Northeastern does a really good job at like doing a ton of events like the first couple weeks just so that people do have stuff to kind of get involved with. So like we had a club fair really early on and just I made sure to go to that um and joined the email list for like anything that interested me, even if I wasn't necessarily going to be like super committed to this club. It was just like going to a couple club meetings at the beginning and meeting new people, figuring out which ones I wanted to stick with. Like that was really helpful. So yeah, I would just say like kind of going to all these things that were being like shown to us and kind of just going with the people that I was meeting on the floor and just kind of making sure to like introduce myself to anyone I could was really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely attend a week. I know for me personally, our school has an entire week where the freshmen actually move in earlier than everybody else and just orientation activities. At the time, I know I was very annoyed with them at the time. Like some of them, I was like, do I really have to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and you want me out until 8 p.m. doing all these activities? And I know they're gonna seem annoying at the time, but you're gonna be so grateful for them just because of the amount of people you'll meet and just the different activities that you're exposed to, and just definitely take advantage of a week for sure. It
Sure.
really gets you acclimated to, the campus culture and just meeting new people and things like that.
We had like an orientation and they were kind of like you could go to different sessions throughout the summer. Um, and I was kind of hesitant, like taking a trip across the country and during the summer, but I'm really, really glad that I ended up going to it because I ended up meeting some of my best friends from that, and it was literally like a 2-day orientation. But like you got to stay in a dorm overnight, and it just like really like gave me a good sense of the school. And I felt like when I came back 2 months later to move in, I felt already more comfortable having had been there for like 48 hours even made such a big difference, and I had some friendly faces. I knew had people to reach out to, so definitely recommend like taking advantage of any sort of like orientation or like you said, like the early move-in week, stuff like that.
Just out of curiosity, did you, contact anybody through Instagram? Like, did you have one of those 2026 pages for Instagram for the upcoming class?
So I didn't ever like post myself on one of the pages, just because I had already lined up a roommate. Otherwise I would have for finding a roommate. But I remember I like had downloaded like the patio app and kind of was looking at what people were doing. I like added people on Snapchat or on Instagram and stuff like that, but I don't know, I didn't really go out of my way too much at first to meet people a ton, but I think orientation was where I really like got to meet people in person, and then from there we still had the rest of the summer to stay in touch. So I think that was really helpful, but I do know that a lot of people that reached out to people through Instagram and whatnot like made some really good friendships through that, which was really good.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main ways. Like I know some colleges don't have like the 2-day summer stay, but I think that's a really good way to reach out to people. I think I was able to like meet a bunch of people. It was actually really overwhelming for me to meet all these people through Instagram. Like all these people post and I would just like follow them. And sometimes they DM, sometimes I DM them. Just it really depends. And like once you get to campus, being able to put a face to a username, it made it like it made a little thing we had in common. Like, oh, I know you posted this and yada yada, and have like a conversation about that. And I think that's a really good conversation starter just for anybody who's like a little nervous. Like, I have no idea. Like, I don't know anybody. Go on their Instagrams, I guess, and like people love to be commented on the fact that somebody paid attention to their Instagram, like even a small little detail. Like I know one person was like, yeah, oh my god, I love the fact that like I loved your prom caption, and like I wasn't even thinking of my prom caption. I was like, oh, thanks. And like we just talk from there about that. So definitely I think that's a really good way to meet people and just have like that really good conversation starting, because I know like approaching people, it's like, what do you say? So
Yeah,
that
I
I
agree.
think that's a really good conversation starter for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It can be really awkward kind of meeting people online, but it definitely helps when you're thrown into the environment here and you recognize someone.
Yeah, definitely. So you're involved with a lot of organizations on campus, as we talked about, including Greek life. Can you give like an in-depth look into your time in Greek life and how you got involved and what advice you have for anybody who's interested in joining Greek life in college?
Yeah, so I had known I was interested in joining Greek life. My family was all part of it as well, so I kind of grew up seeing like the benefits of that from them and all of like the lifelong friendships they had gotten out of that. So it was always kind of a positive thing I had seen. And I wasn't like too familiar with what it would be like in the Northeast because I like know where I'm from. It's a lot more of an intense culture there. And I had heard it was a lot different here, but I still didn't really know what I was getting into. But so I basically just like went in with an open mind. Like we had an orientation for it. And then it kind of just started. It was the first weekend of school. So it was kind of you were just thrown right into it, which it was very overwhelming, I would say, just because you were still adjusting and it was like it takes like full days to go through the recruitment process. But I also think it was like super, super helpful. Even just going through recruitment, I made so many friends just with people, in your recruitment group. And everyone was super supportive and nice throughout the whole thing. So I feel like the whole process was definitely a lot more, as much as it was intense, it was also way more like laid back than I was expecting it to be. And so then it was like the second week of school, I had gotten my bid for Alpha Chi Omega. So that was super exciting and it kind of just all started right away. And it was really nice just like meeting like older students as well, just like being invited over to people's apartments, stuff like that. It was really nice to kind of just get to know more people and to have like more of like a mentor figure as well. So that was really nice at the beginning, just kind of meeting as many people as possible. And also I found that like just having the activities that come with it as well is like super fun. And it's also helps me just like I was saying, like keeping busy helps me from like not getting homesick as much. So that's like been a big part of that. And so like we have different events or whatnot. And like I would say here, it's definitely not as big of a time commitment as probably a lot of like Southern schools would be, but it's kind of like what you make of it here. You can put as much into it as you want to get out of it. And so like I've found like I wanted to get involved. And so I have like three leadership positions right now. And so like with those, like I'm right now I'm working on like helping plan recruitment for the fall. And so just like getting involved in things like that is like fun for me. And it kind of just like you're getting more involved with what people are going to be joining later on. And it just kind of like is a full circle moment as well. But overall, I would just say like I've made like my like future roommates for next year have come out of it and just like lifelong friendships I can already see. Um, so I guess my advice to anyone joining Greek life would really to be like open about it. I know there's a lot of pressure when you're like going through recruitment to kind of like let other people's opinions influence what you think of it. And you can get like really like discouraged easily, but I think like at the end of the day, if you're being yourself, then it's gonna work out in your favor and you're gonna be around people that are similar to you or that resonate with you in some way. So I feel like keeping that in mind, it really helps to like have a more positive outlook and to get more out of it in the end.
Yeah. I didn't know much about about Greek life going into college, definitely. And I think they just had recruitment, I want to say when we came back for not fall break, but winter break. So I think through there I learned a lot about the Greek life process. And I think one of the main things I heard from my friends is just being really, really open to the entirety of it, being open to like the different bids you can get and the recruitment process. Even though it's intense, you can meet a bunch of people, just really being open to the entire thing.
Yes, for sure. You meet so many people throughout it, even like the ones that like go into other sororities, and especially here, there's a lot of crossover between all of the different organizations, and it's a very like collaborative environment. There's always events going on with other Greek life organizations, so it's really nice that you're not just confined to whichever sorority you end up in. Like everyone's friends at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a big thing is to like not don't let your perception of it on like TikTok or social media really I don't know the word right now, but really just cloud your judgment of them. I know for me personally, I'm definitely guilty of seeing like the Bama Rush and just being from the South and being like, oh gosh, like that's a lot. And like seeing all the movies with, mean girls are coming from sororities. And I know personally, I was like, I just don't have time for that. Like I don't have time for high school 2.0. But definitely I could say that it's not like that. And I'm sure that you can attest to that, that it's not like social media or, you know, media at all. So definitely being open and don't think of like TikTok,
Yes.
OOTD sort
Yeah.
of things.
No, I know. I feel like almost every conversation I had during recruitment involved someone bringing up like this is not like Bama Rush at all. Like that was like a highlight of conversation throughout that I remember because that's all like people see that everywhere, but definitely was not like that experience at all. It was really fun though.
So, what advice do you have for any rising seniors wanting to get into Northeastern or just seniors who are part of Northeastern's recently admitted class of 2027?
Yeah, I'd say for anyone that's applying to Northeastern or hoping to get in, just really focusing on your application. I know Northeastern doesn't have a supplemental essay, which is a downside for a lot of people because you don't get to share as much about yourself. But I think that also gives you the opportunity to really pour a lot into like your personal statement. And I also would definitely recommend like going on a tour if you're able to, or just even doing like virtual info sessions, like any way you can like show any demonstrated interest. It's only going to help you. It can't hurt you. And for those who are recently admitted, I would just say to take advantage of everything that's being offered, especially like around like move-in time, like I was saying, kind of just like jump into everything. Even if you're more of like a reserved person, like I'm pretty reserved as well, but I think just like pushing yourself to join as much as you can at first and kind of just seeing all that there is to offer, and like you'll definitely be able to find stuff that interests you, and just not being scared to take advantage of that. Because I know like at Northeastern specifically, it can be very overwhelming. It's a very like career focused university because we have the co-op program. And a lot of people know exactly what they want to do, but there's also plenty of people who don't. Like I came in pretty unsure of what to do. And I'd say like Northeastern is really, really helpful at helping you figure out where your strengths are, what interests you. So I feel like not getting too overwhelmed by all that Northeastern has, and then rather like looking at as an opportunity to figure out what's going to work out for you. Um, but yeah, I would really just say like get involved with as much as possible. And like I said, like go to orientation, do all that type of stuff is really, really helpful to meet people.
Yeah, that's solid pieces of advice. I think just very universal for anybody going to any college, really. Just, remain open. I know they say it's the best 4 year of your life. I can't attest to that yet, but it's definitely a time, especially that first year. So definitely it's going to be very different adjustment for you, no matter if you're staying in state or going out of state, moving coast to coast. But just remain open to your options and the possibilities that are ahead of you, definitely.
Yes, for sure. And it goes by so fast too. Like I can't believe that the year is almost over. So I would definitely say like do everything you can while you're here because it does go so fast.
I know, yeah. It seems like just yesterday I was moving in and now I'm like, oh, I gotta pick all this up now.
Yeah, you
So
gotta figure out how
definitely
to move
fun time.
out.
Yeah. I don't even know when I'm gonna move out, to be honest. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but we're gonna do it. I think that's all my questions I have. Is there anything that you'd like to say or any ending piece of advice just in general?
Um, Not really. I mean, I think just like the main takeaway was really just like having an open mind. I think it's like the key to going into any like new phase in life is having an open mind and being welcoming of change. I feel like that is kind of what has really helped me so far. And I've seen a lot of other people have great success by keeping that type of mindset as well. So I feel like that's kind of just my biggest piece of advice for anyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Delaney, for joining me today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Delaney. I hope you learned all about Northeastern, joining Greek life, what it's like being an out-of-state student, and so much more. For all things college, check out the College Confidential website at www.collegeconfidential.com. Thanks to all of our listeners for tuning into this episode. Don't forget to check out and follow us on the College Confidential Instagram and TikTok for more of your college needs. Forums are currently abuzz with chatter as students prepare to commit to their college of choice on May 1st. You don't want to miss it. This is Gabby Alphonse, your host of the Admitted official College Confidential podcast. Till next time.